Hello and welcome to a brief overview of the rules for Iiosia role-playing game. I'm doing this because last night we played a session of IRPG which went pretty well, but we didn't really go that much into the rules. There was a lot of description, as well there should be, but rather than receive questions in those videos like here and there, I would consolidate everything into this video so people can ask questions about the rules if they want, and I can go through all the basics of the IRPG rules. The basic premise of IRPG is to create a basic system that's pretty simple to learn and understand, but it's still complex and flexible enough to for characters to be able to have the freedom to do what they want, be who they want, and have free reign over their actions and what they do in the game. So that's the basic premise of the video. Let's get started. Alright, let's start with a basic character sheet. This is Zhao's character sheet from the game we played last night. So over on this side, I shall highlight right now, we have the personal information of the character, which is all, or mostly, pretty basic stuff. His name, his race, you know, who he is, how tall he is, some idea about who the character is in a very, very basic level. The only things of addition here are focus and languages. Now, languages you select as you make your character from a predefined list. Focus is what your character is especially good at. What your character is focused in will decide what they're better at improving in. So for example, Zhao is playing a mage here, so he is focusing in willpower, which governs the magic skills, and that will allow him to better increase his magical powers than, say, if he focused in agility, which would help him increase another set of skills which wouldn't equate to being a mage. So that's personal information. The attributes over this side. There are only 4 attributes in the game. There is strength, agility, willpower, and intellect. Then there's primary attack score and primary defense score. Sorry, total defense score. These are how well your character is at attacking and defending. Strangely enough, the higher these numbers are, the better they are at either attacking or defending. I'm not going to go into exactly how these are worked out. It is pretty simple, but it's not really required for this video. Attacks and parries. The attacks is, wait for it, how many attacks you have. For example, Zhao currently has 1 attack, so he rolls 1 dice against 1 monster, and that's all he has. If he decides to increase his combat skills, then he will receive more attacks. Indeed, he will receive more parries as well. Now, if he receives 2 attacks, he can use both those attacks against 1 enemy, or if he has 2 enemies within reach, within melee range, he can divide his attacks 1 against each enemy. With parries, this is how many attacks you can roll against. He currently has no parries, but if you have 1, then you can parry against 1 attack. If you have 2, then you can parry against 2 attacks. It works pretty simple, but we'll cover exactly what a parry does in the combat section. Base vitality and vitality is basically hit points. It's what is reduced when your character takes damage, either from spells or falls or traps or combat. Once your vitality reaches 0, you are not dead, but well, you might be, but you're not necessarily. You will you have a possibility to either bleed to death horribly, and if you are saved, you may then suffer some serious injury or death, or you might get away with it and be okay. Because combat in IRPG is quite deadly, this was required. Fate points are something else entirely. Fate points are earned by the character by completing quests, by slaying monsters, and generally doing awesome stuff. They are kind of the equivalent to experience points. They are used to increase your character's skills and attributes. If your character is focused in a particular attribute, then that attribute and the skills pertaining to that attribute will be easier for your character to level up. They will cost less fate points. Fate points are also used to re-roll dice in the game. For example, if a dice roll results in your character dying or something horrific happening to them, you would probably want to spend a fate point to re-roll that dice and try and escape the fate that has befallen you. Scrolling down, we have skills. Each attribute has a number of skills attached to it, or rather each skill pertains to a certain attribute. For example, strength skills are things like big bashy weapons. They're things like heavy armor, longbows, crossbows, also things like resisting pain and taking less damage from hits. Agility skills is what you'd expect, more like sneaking, lighter armor, short bows, smaller weapons, sleight of hand, that sort of thing. Athletics and acrobatics and such like. Willpower skills are your magical skills. Willpower refers to your abilities to form magic, to sense magic, to cast spells and such like. And intellect skills are another they're knowledge skills, pretty much. They're also awareness. It's your ability to reason, your ability to think quickly, to interact with others, to have knowledge about different specific things. For example, how to navigate through caves, how to sail boats, and things like that don't necessarily come to mind right now, but yeah, a number of sort of miscellaneous skills which will come useful in certain situations. And then we have slots for weapons, armor, shield, backpack, and your current vitality, where your altering vitality is kept up to date, and any coin you have, which is obviously money. Now, let's say that Zhao's character, Elric, has got himself into a little bit of bother and he needs to sneak away from a hazardous situation, let's say. So, sneak falls under agility, or stealth, as it is listed here. You will gain certain skills as soon as you get your character. For example, these skills are forcing, athletics, stealth, awareness, and diplomacy. These are skills that everybody can do, so they are automatically on every single character sheet. For example, everybody can talk to somebody else and try and get them to do something, which is diplomacy. Everybody has a chance of spotting something, which is awareness, and everybody has a chance of forcing a door open or using their strength to achieve a goal, which is, for example, forcing over here. But all of their ranks are 0, and this is basically the bonus you get to the roll when you're trying to do that action. So, for example, if we go back to our little example, Zhao is trying to sneak away. So what he would do is that what would happen is that the GM, me, would decide what sort of target the dice roll that Zhao needed to roll to be able to succeed in this. So for example, I might decide that he might need a 14 plus. So what he would do, he would roll a dice. Now Iiosia uses d10s exclusively. Sometimes that it would use d5s, which is just like halving a d10 and rounding up. So he would roll a d10 and add his agility, and he would add any bonus he gets to from skills that he has. So for example, he rolls a 5. His agility is 7, so that equals 14, which is not good enough. If, however, he happened to have a stealth of 2, he could add 2 onto that roll and get 14. Therefore, he manages to succeed and manages to sneak away or perform whatever action he was trying to do. Pretty much every single action which requires some sort of risk is handled in this way. The only 2 exceptions, of course, are magic and combat, which are covered, well, now.